Eric, so this seemed pretty freaky initially, just any accident with a self-driving car, even when there's a person in it who's there to act as a sort of a safety, is disconcerting.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying to see a self-driving car tipped over, in the road. So I think anybody who saw that was definitely nervous. Now, as we've learned more about it, it seemed like the Uber's vehicle wasn't responsible. The other vehicle failed to yield, so that's why they're getting back onto the road.
See, I would argue it's more terrifying to see a self-driving car actually moving on the street. Maybe that's why the driver was so distracted. They saw this freaky car and plowed into it.
Maybe. I don't know. This sort of plays into the whole self-driving argument, right? I mean, we've got these crazy human drivers out there just ramming into self-driving cars. We need perfect machines to do it so this doesn't happen anymore. I think that would be the Uber spin on this.
So I was with a venture capitalist yesterday. We were in an Uber actually, and we were having this conversation about sort of imagining how self-driving cars might roll out. If you figure, say, 15 million cars to 12 million cars sold in an average year, and then you figure how many of these might be self-driving at a certain price point, how many years, to get to that point where most cars are self-driving would take decades and decades if the technology ever could even get to work.
Right. I mean, there's going to have to be a lot of sort of coexistence, I guess is the right word, between human drivers and self-driving cars for a long time. Like you said, the replacement cycle alone will take quite some time, and then getting the technology ready to where you could actually have cars without any human drivers present still seems a pretty long way off. People talk about sort of maybe we'll need sort of particular cities to try it and actually build the infrastructure so the self-driving cars can interact with the roads, stoplights, and everything else. So it seems like the actual rollout here is still some time off, but clearly Uber is aggressively testing and seeing where this can work.
And it's sort of amazing that they're not back up in Phoenix, but they are back up in San Francisco, where they've been clashing with lawmakers in the state and in a very public way.
Well, they're going back up everywhere now. They'd gone back in San Francisco where it was just a test, whereas in Arizona and Pittsburgh, they're doing sort of actual passenger trips. And of course, all these vehicles have two human drivers in the front, one ready to take the wheel and the other sort of monitoring what the car sees about the world, and in some cases helping with lane changes.
Yeah, no, have you seen them in the streets of San Francisco? There was one parked in front of the San Francisco Bureau, and I snapped a picture and put it on my Instagram account. I don't know if they knew where they were, but they're sort of amazing to see.
Yeah, I mean, when they were first launching in San Francisco before they got kicked out, I went on a ride for one of them, and there were lots of human interventions, and I certainly see them around sort of mapping and sort of getting a sense of the landscape and taking all these sort of LiDAR pictures to understand what the world looks like and what the environment they're going to be driving in looks like.
And let me ask you really quick, do you get a sense that after all of these PR problems, that the company's responses become more grown up in the way that they respond to these things that can make the Uber look bad?
I think they were smart to take the cars off the streets, figure out what had happened, and then once they realized that they weren't at fault, redeploy. So it was a mature response. Every scandal requires a different response, and I think a lot of their PR problems have been more substance than the optics. So right. In this case, it wasn't too bad.
Well, and to be clear, what matters is the substance, not the optics. Although,
right.
When you've got this, the hashtag delete Uber or whatever that campaign was about, that optics led to a substantial problem.
Yeah, I mean, in the delete Uber case, though, I think we both agree that some of the story behind the protests and everything like that is suspect. But the underlying issue, the closeness to the Trump administration, I think people were expressing dissatisfaction with the company on that front, and that's what really brought about delete Uber.